So if you have a private sector defined benefit pension and you're considering transferring this pension into a personal pension, if you haven't already, you're probably going to run into some difficulties actually getting that transfer to happen. First of all, you need to find a financial advisor and take advice. And next, you're going to need to find a pension provider willing to take your funds. I'm Carl Roberts, Chartered Financial Planner at RTS Financial Planning, and in this video I'm going to explain why it's incredibly hard right now to transfer a defined benefit pension. So let's just look at why people are considering transferring a defined benefit pension. I mean, after all, these pensions were once considered the gold-plated pension scheme, final salary pensions, a guaranteed income for life. Why would you want to give that up? Well, it mainly all started back in 2015 when the then Chancellor George Osborne announced something called pension freedoms, which basically gave anyone with a personal pension the flexibility to take out as much income or as little income as they wanted to. And of course, this is very different to a defined benefit pension, because with a defined benefit pension, your income isn't flexible. Once you start that pension, you cannot change the level of income you've got. And some of the other reasons why people have transferred or considering transferring a defined benefit pension is not only flexibility, but also the lump sum. Usually with a personal pension, you can take out more tax-free lump sum than you can with a defined benefit pension. There's also the issue of death benefits with a defined benefit pension. Usually if you have one, the scheme will pay out around half of your income to a surviving spouse. But if you're not married and you don't have children, usually the pension will die with you. Whereas with a personal pension, whatever's left in the pot can be passed down the generations for as long as it survives. And finally, I always say, people talk about these defined benefit pension schemes as being guaranteed. I would not say they're guaranteed. The income payments are reliant on the company you previously worked for or the pension company that's taken over the scheme to remain solvent. Because if that company fails, there's a good chance that your pension scheme can go bust and your retirement income can significantly reduce. So I would say they are not guaranteed income. So why is it so hard right now to transfer a defined benefit pension into a personal pension? Well, it all starts with Section 48 of the Pension Scheme Act 2015. And this basically legislates the idea that you must take financial advice if your defined benefit has benefits worth over £30,000 or more. And I would argue that's a good thing. It's good that people are taking financial advice or need to take financial advice on a defined benefit pension. After all, we're talking about some huge transfer values here. I mean, this could be the second biggest asset you'll ever own after property, potentially. So in an ideal world, a financial advisor will charge you for the amount of time it's going to take to review your defined benefit pension. Of course, a financial advisor needs to charge for their advice. They don't work for free. But it's not simply a case of charging for how long it takes to do the defined benefit pension review. The regulator is quite adamant that for the majority of cases, it's not going to be right for someone to transfer a defined benefit pension. They'll see it as, why would you give up the secure income for the rest of your life? So they don't really want to see too many cases. I mean, as financial advisors, we're regularly sent questionnaires from the regulator to ask us how many defined benefit transfers are you doing. They're keeping tabs. Now, by agreeing to take on and review a defined benefit pension transfer, the financial advisor is taking on a massive liability. We've already said the regulator is not really expecting many transfers to take place. So if an advisor does one, they've got that liability, and that liability will last a long time. There's no deadline for clients to complain about the advice they've been given by a financial advisor. So a financial advisor could transfer a defined benefit pension, and years and years and years down the line, a client could come back and complain about advice they felt was wrong. And the advisor could face huge costs for compensating that client if it was found in the client's favour. Also, financial advisors need to take out professional indemnity insurance as a course of their business. Because of the stance of the regulator, professional indemnity insurers don't really want to see financial advisors taking on this type of business. So the premiums for this type of work have shot up massively. Our own premiums a year or so ago went up 250%. So this all needs to add back into the cost and be passed on to the client in terms of the financial advisor being able to make this work. And all this has led to more and more advisors coming out of this space. Not many advisors now are actually advising on defined benefit transfers because it's just not worth the risk. Now, another really frustrating thing about this whole scenario right now is that even though the Section 48 rule states that a client must seek financial advice if their defined benefit pension is worth £30,000 or more, it doesn't say you have to follow the advice. So the rule is you just have to take advice, not follow it. So it could be perfectly reasonable that you go and see a financial advisor, they advise you on the defined benefit transfer, and perhaps they advise you not to transfer your defined benefit pension. But having thought about it, you would still like to wish to proceed with transferring your defined benefit pension benefits into a personal pension. The problem comes is finding a personal pension provider that will accept the transferred funds if the advisor has not recommended the transfer. And this is a bit sneaky of the pension providers because really that's not what the rules state. The pension providers should be perfectly willing to accept defined benefit transferred funds even if an advisor has recommended not to, because the client has taken advice. They should be responsible for the decision they make next. But the providers are not doing this, whether it's pressure from the regulators, they're trying to cover their backsides. They're basically saying that unless an advisor has positively recommended that a defined benefit transfer should take place, the providers will not allow a transfer of funds. And that can be really frustrating for a client because you might have paid a fee for the advice, you might have taken good advice, but for whatever reason, you are just quite clear you want to make that transfer. And you're going to really struggle to find a provider that will accept those funds. So you would have paid a fee and you'll still be back to where you are. So where do we go from here? If you're someone that's considering transferring a defined benefit pension to a personal pension, what do you do next? Well, firstly, I'd say you need to do as much research as you can, or thinking about, really be really clear on the reasons why you're considering transferring a defined benefit pension. The reasons can't just be because you want the pot of money and think you can invest it better. That's not a valid reason. You need to think about your overall retirement plan, how a transferred pension would work as opposed to a secure income. So really think about that. Many financial advisors offer triage services or educational services where you can go and learn more about these types of pensions just to make sure you're on the right track. And some will even do, abridged advice where it's more of a light touch overview of your situation and it'll start to give you some indication of, what the potential outcome could be. So look for that. Secondly, I'd say don't request a transfer value right now. So if you are considering transferring a defined benefit pension, work on a rule of thumb. I'd say sort of 16 to 20 times the pension income would be a rough estimate, or on the low side for a transfer value. So work on that basis, and if that sort of fits in with your retirement plan, then you might want to progress to the next stage and request a full transfer value. The problem with requesting a transfer value is that they're usually only guaranteed for 3 months. And if you go past that deadline and need another one, a lot of these pension providers will charge you extra for a second transfer value calculation. Thirdly, you just need to be prepared to pay a decent sized fee for the defined benefit transfer advice for all the reasons we've mentioned earlier. And unfortunately, it's just the way the world is right now in this type of area. So it's going to be a sizable fee to pay for the advice and get that transfer if that's the right outcome for you. And also, on the basis that a financial advisor may recommend you don't transfer, if you're adamant that you're going to do it regardless, you really want to transfer your defined benefit pension, I would say try and find a provider in advance that's going to accept your funds without a positive recommendation from an advisor. Speak to your current workplace pension provider, if you have one, because if you can't find one and the advisor you go to speak to can't find one, it's just not going to happen. You're going to pay a fee for the advice. The advisor may recommend that you don't transfer, and you are going to be stuck where you are, and you would have paid out a fee for that. So I hope you found this video useful. If you are coming up to retirement, we've put together a really handy download book. It's called the 10-Minute Retirement Plan. It's accessible from the website, rtsfinancialplanning.co.uk. On the homepage, scroll down a little bit. You can put an email address in and get that downloaded, and hopefully you'll find that really useful. Until next time, take care.